Hello, everybody. This is Miss Della Garza. This video will be for week 4. Let me get my whiteboard set up here. All right. Okay, so week 4, we're multiplying polynomial. Well, they call them polynomials, but basically we're going to be doing what we call the box method to solve problems. That's a simpler way to say things. So I'm going to start out. If you go over to your week 4 document, the first question has 2 sets of parentheses. Basically, it says use the box method, and that's what we're going to do right now to solve this. And I'm going to do several examples because I know this takes a little bit to remember or get used to doing. So I'm going to start with the practice. I have 2x plus 2. And if you were in the Zoom on, I believe it was Wednesday, these are going to be a lot like what Coach Hendrick did. Okay, so we have 2 sets of two sets here. We're going to draw a little box. And this is how we do the box method. So we have 2x plus 2. So I'm going to go ahead, and I like to put the first one on top. There we go. Then we have 5x minus 2. I like to put that one on the side. So notice how if it's around parentheses, it's together either on one side or the other. You could also, if you like doing it like this, you could do 2x plus 2 and 5x minus 2. They're still within that same parentheses. As long as they're together on one side of the box, you're good because your answer will come out to the same thing. All right? So I'm just going to kind of leave it like this so I can show you that it comes out to the same thing. So when we do the box method, we're doing multiplying on the outside of the box. So 5 times 2 is 10. Now remember, it's different when we're multiplying these variables, x times x. Well, you have to pretend there's a little one there and a little one there. Or you can think of it, how many x's do I have? I have 1 here and 1 here. So I have x squared. So that's that first box. Then we're going to do 5x times this plus 2. Well, 5 times 2 is again 10. But then we have an x here, but no x here. So how many x's do I have? Just 1. And you can write a little 1 right here, but it's not needed. Again, that's like when I was talking about in previous lessons, whenever we have something with a 1 power, or it's like 1x, the 1 is invisible, it's not there. All right, I'm going to keep going. So I'm going to go down to this next box. Negative 2 times 2 is negative 4. And I don't have any x's here, but I do right here. So that gets just 1x. Then negative 2 times positive 2, negative 2 times positive 2 is negative 4. All right, let me do this on the bottom. This is the same problem, except I switched where my numbers and letters in parentheses were on which side of the box. And you'll find out that it still comes out to the same thing. 2 times 5 is 10. X times x is x squared, because I have an x here and I have an x here. So that's x squared. 2 times negative 2 is negative 4. And then I only have that x here, but not with the negative 2 up here. So it just gets 1x. Then I go down to my bottom square. 2 times 5 is 10. And then I don't have an x here, but I do right here. So that still has one x with it. 2 times negative 2 is negative 4. So if you look, you still have the negative or the 10x squared. And the 10x and the negative 4x, they're just flip-flopped, but they're still there. That's fine. And then we have the negative 4 in the other square. All right, this is going to be my last step. You're going to take your numbers out of the box. I have 10x squared plus 10x minus 4x minus 4. I've just put them all together. If you notice, there is no other number with x squared. So that just is going to stay 10x squared. There is also just this negative 4 over here by itself. You can't combine that with anything else because it's just negative 4. So I'm going to put that over here. This middle part is what I can combine because it's a number with an x and another number with an x. They have common values. This is called combining like terms. 10 minus 4 is positive 6. And then they both have x's, so they're just going to have an x with it. The other way you can look at this is you can circle the ones in the middle. So then you have 10x squared. 10 minus 4 is positive 6x. And then the negative 4 gets stuck on the end. However you want to do this is fine. This is the same answer down here. If you combine these, you have 10x squared. Negative 4 plus 10 is still positive 6. They both have that x with it, and then negative 4. So both of these came out to be the same answer. So that's telling you it doesn't matter where you put these up here or over here, as long as they stay within the parentheses, they stay with the same numbers. Don't put the 5x with the 2x or the 2 with the negative 2. They have to be buddies and stay together. Don't worry, I'm going to do more examples. I have to kind of, the first couple of examples, I always got to go through the why of everything. All right, let's try another one. We have 3x minus 2 and 4x plus 3. I'm going to draw my box. Let's do. And again, it doesn't matter where you put these as long as they're within the parentheses. And you don't have to draw the little parentheses. I'm just kind of showing why I put what where. Okay, so now we're going to start multiplying on the outside. So we start with this box. 4 times, and remember, we're doing multiplication. I'll do a dot to represent multiplication. So we're just multiplying. 4 times 3 is 12. I have 2 x's, so that's x squared. Then I go to my next square over here. 3 times 3 is 9. And I only have the 1x there, so I just have 1x there. Now I'm going down to this bottom square. 4 times negative 2 is negative 8. And I only have the x up here, so that's going to get that x. And then I go to the last square. Negative 2 times 3 is negative 6. And now my squares are filled. I like to just combine like terms just using the box method. There's nothing else with the x squared. So 12x squared just stays by itself. And there's nothing to combine with the negative 6 because it's by itself. It has no x's with it. But the 9x and the negative x can be combined because they both have those, they're both numbers with x's behind them. They're alike. So we combine those like terms. So I'm going to finish my problem. 12x squared. 9 minus 8 is 1, and it's positive 1, x, and then minus 6. So you can either write it like this, but if you do answer choices, like if you have multiple choice, it's going to be written like this. Because in math, we don't need that 1 in front of the x. So this would be your answer on a multiple choice. But if you're writing it like a free response, we would take this one too. That's fine. But some of us need to have that 1 in front like this so that we can actually see the number. And that's fine. All right, we're going to do another one. I think we did, when I was with Coach, we did several of these on the Zoom meeting. All right. So I'm going to do, I guess, one more. And this is very much like on question 1 on your assignment 4. So we have 3x minus 1, and then 2x minus 3. I think they're all like the ones on number 1. I don't know what the difference between any would be, but hopefully this is helping you guys. Draw our box for the box method. And I'll switch it up. This time I'll put 3x minus 1 on the top and 2x minus 3 on the side. Again, does not matter as long as parentheses, whatever's in the parentheses stays on that side of the box. So don't switch numbers around. So it'd be like if you did your parentheses like that. You can keep those if you need to. I need to try to make this as not messy as possible. Okay, again, we're multiplying around the box. So I'm going to start with this first box. 3 times 2 is 6. And then I have an x here and an x here. So I have x squared. I have 2 x's. And really the reason, I'm going to go over why we do this again, because this basically has little ones right here. When we multiply exponents, when we have x times x, you actually have to add the exponents. So this is like saying 1 plus 1 is 2. I have found that a lot of people just understand this more. If I say, how many x's do you have? 2 x's, x squared. But whatever you need to kind of learn that's up to you. Everybody learns different. So now I'm going to go to this box. 2 times negative 1 is negative 2. And then I only have 1 x. I don't have another x to multiply it with. So it basically just stays there. Negative 3 times 3 is negative 9. And again, I only have 1 x right here. So it just gets 1x. Negative 3 times negative 1 is positive 3. All right? Because a negative times a negative is a positive. I'm going to write 6x squared because I know that that has no other x squareds. I can't combine that with anything else. But I can combine the middle. Negative 2 minus 9 is negative 11. Keep the x with it. And I'll go over something else here in just a sec. And then I just bring down the plus 3. Now, earlier I said you have an x here and an x here, so that's x squared. Remember, on the outside, we were multiplying. On the inside, though, you have to think of this as like an addition sign. So the rules change. -2 plus -9 is -11. But x plus x is just x. We're not multiplying. Those are different rules when we're talking about variables with exponents. I don't want to get too much into that because I don't want to confuse anybody anymore, but that's basically why this right here does not have the x squared, and it's just x. Because we have to go from multiplying around the box to adding when we're done. Okay. Let me erase those. All right. So I'm going to go to number 2. And this is one that was kind of getting everybody because now we only have the x squared and then a number as answer choices, like on option 1, option 2, and option 4. Notice option 3 looks different than your other answers. That should be a clue that that will not be an answer choice, option 3. So just keep that in mind. That's a test-taking strategy or assignment strategy. Option 3 looks a lot different than option 1, option 2, and option 4. So that could be a clue for you. And so let's go back and we'll do one like 6x plus 1, 6x minus 1. So we're going to do 2x minus 3 and 2x plus 3. And again, it doesn't matter where you put it as long as they're on the same side. Now notice that negative has to go with the 3. This -3, they have to stick together. And we do just like we did before, we're multiplying on the outside. 2 times 2 is 4. X times x is x squared. You have those 2 x's, and you're multiplying. Then the next box, 3 times 2 is 6. And then you only had the 1 x, so you keep that there. 2 times -3 is -6. And you only have the x right here, so that drops down. And then -3 times 3 is -9. Be careful not to add. It's 3 times 3, and it's 3 times -3, excuse me. So that's -9. And remember, we're adding in the middle, so now I can combine my like terms. I don't have anything to combine with 4x squared. 6 minus 6 is 0. So I'm going to write it out. If you wanted to write it out, you could say plus 0x and then leave the -9. But just know that when you have answer choices, they just take it out because it's 0. There's nothing there. If there's nothing there, we leave it out. Oops. And that is an answer choice for this one. Okay? So that one's a little different because we got rid because they canceled each other out. 6 minus 6 is 0, so it went away. We just squeezed together the 4x squared minus 9. We'll do one more of those. So we have, let's say we have 4x plus 2. And then we have 4x minus 2. So 4 times 4 is 16. I have x and x, that's x squared. 4 times negative 2 is negative 8x. 4 times 2 is 8x. Negative 2 times 2 is negative 4. Again, nothing to combine with 16x squared. If I do negative 8 plus 8, that's just 0 and negative 4. So that there's nothing, this goes away. It equals 0. So whenever we don't have anything with, or whenever something equals 0, we in math do not even include it because it's 0, it's nothing. Okay, so I hope that helped with number 2. And then finally, we're going to go over number 3. Number 3 does take a while to get, and that's why this video is pretty long, because I have to do several examples of it. I would recommend when we get to problems like number 3 where you have to factor, this is called factoring. If you can Google a multiplication chart, if you really struggle with your multiplication tables, I would highly recommend you do that instead of sitting there and trying to figure out what are multiples. And I'll go over that here in a second, and you'll see why you might need that. Okay, so number 3, let's go look at it real quick. It says, oh wait, I forgot what are the values of A, B, C. So I forgot this has 4 questions. Number 4, let me go over real quick. So it says, what are the values of A, B, and C? If you have something like 3x squared minus 7x plus 4, this is in the quadratic equation form. This is a quadratic. We've talked about linear, we've talked about exponential, we've talked about now quadratic equations. This is basically a quadratic equation, which is ax squared plus bx plus c. All they've done is replace the a, the b, and the c with numbers. So let's talk about that. Means that the a now is 3x squared. The b is now negative 7x. And the 4 is now 4. Or the c is now 4, excuse me. This is a quadratic equation. So you say a equals 3. B equals negative 7. And C equals 4. That's how you would answer that problem. Just looking at these first numbers here. A, same thing. Okay. That's what, and this at the bottom, this is how we want you to do your answers. A equals, B equals, C equals. All right, now I'm going to go over number 4. So now we're going to go to number 4. What are the factors for the given polynomials? So you have to factor, it's like you're doing reverse. We had, for numbers 1 and 2, you had 2 sets of parentheses with numbers, and you solved to get that number x squared minus number x plus a number or minus a number. Now it's like you're going backwards. You're doing some reversals. They actually given you the polynomial, and you have to find out what the factors are. So again, it's just a reversal of what we've done. So this time, they give you something like 2x squared plus 11x plus 12. Right away, what you need to do is label your A, B, and C, because that's very important. So I'm going to label A is 2, B is positive 11, and C is this positive 12. So now we're going to do this eye chart. And Coach Hendrick did it like this. He had the boxes on all sides. But I like just writing the eye chart. It's the same thing. So I'm going to draw my eye chart. What goes on top is A times C. So 2 times 12 is 24. Then on the bottom, this is B. Well, B is this 11. So that's where that 11 is going to go. Let me fix this a little so it's not so ugly. Okay, now how do I get this number and this number? Well, that's where you have to use that multiplication chart I was telling you about, because you're trying to find out what multiplies to get to 24 and what adds to get to 11. So that's why you need to know your multiplication tables. So let me do what I mean. Let's start with 1 times. 1 times 24 is 24. That multiplies to get 24. 1 times 24 equals 24. But when I add 1 plus 24, I get 25, which is not 11. So that can't work. So 1 times 24 won't work. So then you can just keep going. If you don't have your multiplication chart out, you're going to have to say, okay, 1 times. Now let's go 2 times. 2 times 12 is 24. What multiplies to get 24? 2 times 12 gets 24. But if I add 2 plus 12, I get 14. That does not equal 11. This is what we're looking for it to add to equal to 11. So that won't work. So we have to keep going. We did 1 times, we did 2 times, now we do 3 times 8 equals 24. So that multiplies to get 24. 3 plus 8 equals 11. Check, check. We found 2 numbers that multiply to 24 and add to 11. So that's what goes here, 3 and 8. And it doesn't matter which side, you can do 8 and 3, 3 and 8. We just needed those numbers. Okay, now on to this next step. We're doing some box method reversals. So I'm going to erase some of this so that I can have some room. I'm going to draw my box. Now, what goes where? I have to go back to my equation. I'm going to rewrite it too, just so it's not, we're kind of going on to the next step, and I want to make sure it's kind of clean for you guys. We had 2x squared plus 11x plus 12. Okay, so we need to find out what goes where. Remember, this is the reversal. So remember earlier, we had 2x, we had something x squared in this first box right here. Well, if we go look what's x squared. So basically, a is what goes in this box. So I'm going to put 2x squared. If you remember earlier, there was just a number by itself in this box. Well, that's this number, C, 12. So C goes there. All right. Erase some of this. So first box gets A, which is 2x squared. The last box gets C, which is 12. Now I can put in 3x, 8x. It looks a lot like what we just did earlier, doesn't it? And now it's the reversal. We've got to find out what goes on the outside. Well, if we want to do that, we have to start right here. All right. So again, this might help to have a multiplication chart because you have to think what goes right here. And you got to think 2 times what, or what two things. Let me back up. What are the numbers that multiply to 2? Well, really, there's only one set of multiplication that can do that. That's 1 and 2. 2 times 1 is 2. Nothing else multiplies to 2. So 2, whoops. And you already know there's going to be an x here and an x here. So 2 times 1 makes 2. Then we go over to this box. You got to do some thinking. You know what? I reverse these. Let's do this. Because that's what you do, because nothing, 2 times, you can't multiply anything by 2 to get to 3. So if that doesn't work, reverse them. And that's why this is a lot more complicated. It takes a lot more brain work. 2 times what gives you 8? 4. So, or yeah, 4. And it's positive 4. All these are positive numbers, so plus 4. Down here. And again, what times what gives you 3? Well, the only thing, we have the 1 up here, so we have to say 1 times what gives you 3? Well, 3. This already has that x, so all I need is that 3, this 3 right here, because the x is already up here. 3 times 4 is 12, so we know that that works. So then we just did like we did earlier, we put them in parentheses. 1x plus 4, 2x, and that was a positive 3, so plus 3. Now we have our factors. You also don't need to write the 1 in front of the x, so this can also be written like this. Okay, this would be on your answer choices. I know that was a lot. Don't freak out. Let's do another. All right. So let's do another one. 2x squared plus 5x minus 3. All right, so, and I label A. You don't really need B too much, but we'll label them anyway. And then I do my eye chart. Remember, the top is A times C. A times C is -6. And then B is down here, which is 5. Remember, we're looking for what multiplies to -6 and adds to 5. Now, this is going to be where the multiplication chart will help you if you need it, plus knowing your rules for positives and negatives. The thing I do with people that get confused about positives and negatives is I don't think about the negatives first. I just go through the multiplication tables. I know that 1 times 6 gives me 6, which I know I can turn this into a negative and make it -6. Or I can turn this into a -6 and make this a -6. So that works as far as multiplication. But then I need to say, okay, 1 plus 6 is 7. Well, that won't work. However, I can make one of these negatives so that it does work. So let me show you how you do that. Just work in opposites. 6 is really close to 5. How can I get 6 to 5? Well, I just take away 1, and that's basically what negatives are. -1 plus 6 is +5. So you might have to play around if you get one where you need to find out what that negative is. So I know that these are my factors, -1 and 6. So now I can do my box method. All right, so remember, 2x squared goes here. C, -3, goes here. Then -1, you know what? I know that nothing is going to multiply, so I'm going to do that down here. I guess it's the smaller one. I'm not the expert that Coach Hendrick and all the other math teachers are, but I'm going to put that one on the bottom and then 6x right here. Because I know 2 and 6, 2 can go into 6 because I know that will work better. All right, so now we're going to do the reverse. So I need to know what goes right here. I know there's going to be an x and an x here. So 2 times 1 is 2. 2 times 3 is 6, and it's +3. Then I say, okay, 1, because I already know 1. 1 times -1 gives me -1. And this already has the x, so I don't need it here. And then 3 times -1 is -3. So I'm good. So now I can just write it as x plus 3, or 2x minus 1. Or flip-flop it. You can write 2x minus 1 and x plus 3. It doesn't matter. All right, I'm going to go over something too real quick. Let's go back to the problem. Say you are just, I hate it. I hate factoring. I can't do it. It's driving me nuts. Go back to your answer choices. Remember that these answer choices that we're looking at for option 1, 2, 3, and 4 are written just like the box method that we used for 1 and 2. So if you're factoring, you just aren't understanding, remember, you can take your answer choices and you can use the box method and get your answers for each one and figure out which one gives the polynomial of 4x squared minus 7x plus 3. So there's 2 ways you can do this problem. You can factor, but you can also use these answer choices to help you. Use the box method for those answer choices, and That should help you a lot. For example, I know when I do the box method for option 4, you get 4x squared minus 40x minus 3x, which already I know is not, and then negative 30. So I know option 4 is not going to be my answer. But I could do the box method to figure it out. So 4x minus 3, x minus 10. So say you're stuck and you want to do the box method on your answer choices. You had 4x minus 3, and then what was it? X minus 10. You could still go back and do the box method. 4x minus 3, x minus 10. If you don't have a number in front of the x, remember you can always just put 1. 4x squared. 4 times 1 is 4. X times x is x squared. Negative 3 times 1 is negative 3x. Negative 10 times 4 is negative 40. And negative 10 times negative 3 is positive 30. Already I know it's not going to be my answer because of that plus 30. So, oops. You combine your like terms, you have 4x squared minus 43x. Because remember, you're adding these. Negative 3 plus negative 40 is negative 43x plus 30. So that cannot be your answer choice. But you can see that you can use your answer choice to get the polynomial to see if that's the answer. Okay? So there's 2 ways you can get the answers. You don't have to factor if you have answer choices. All right, I'm going to do one more example for the factoring, just because I think people need 3. So I'm going to do one more factoring example. 2x squared minus 5x minus 12. So we have a times c is negative 24. And then b is negative 5. So now I have to figure out what multiplies to negative 24 and adds to negative 5. And just remember, this is a times c. That's where I got those. So what multiplies to negative 24 but adds to negative 5? And since this is already a very long video, I'm going to take a shortcut because I already know. 3 times negative 8 is negative 24. 3 plus negative 8, and I don't like to do that. Let's do this. 3 minus 8 is negative 5. If you have to do the plus negative 8, that's fine, but that's kind of elementary. You want to have either the plus or the minus. So 3 minus 8 is negative 5, so I found 2 factors that multiply to negative 24 and add or subtract to negative 5. So then I'm going to do the reverse box. So remember that a goes in that first box, 2x squared. C goes in that last box, negative 12. And remember to bring that negative with you. It's not just positive 12, it's negative 12. I know 2 and 3 are not common, so I'm going to use that negative 8x and 3x. Put my x here, my x here. 2 times 1 is 2. 2 times negative 4 is negative 8. 1 times 3 is 3. And 3 times negative 4 is negative 12. So now I have my like term or my factors. But again, if this is killing you guys, just use your answer choices and do the box method that we did earlier to get your answer choices. Let me know if you need me to do a Zoom with you. You can email me or text me. My text number is my Google Voice number. It's 210-876-4217. You can text me that, hey, this is so-and-so. I'm having trouble. Please, can we set up a Zoom meeting? And I will sure do that for you. All right. I hope everybody had a great day. And just, again, let me know if you need help.